I think I still owed you something. Some month ago, if you remember, I did that video that you currently see on the screen. I asked you, can you tell the difference between acoustic drums and drum samples? For all of you who haven't seen the video back in May, I think it was, you may check the little info box in the top corner or in the description box below if you want to see the full video before I reveal what the answer is here. So if you want to guess within, however, if you don't want to watch the whole video again, here's a little recap. I used a recording from a band or from an artist. His name is Patrick Talbot and the song is Blue. And with that track, I got a performance, a drum performance, which I then translated into MIDI files to use within Superior Drummer or any drum sample software. And then I mixed the song from scratch using like the drums that were provided with the song and my own samples. And I asked you if you could tell which one of those were drum samples and which one of those have been the acoustic drums. With that, before I reveal, I will come to that in a second, I asked you guys, I got like over 60-70 comments, I think, in that video on Facebook as well. So I got roughly around, not completely 100, but almost 100 comments. And it was fun to see like how you people were all guessing. The question though, acoustic drums versus drum samples, is not 100% correct, to be honest, because that's first of the biggest misconceptions people have about drum samples when they talk about machine and artificial and fake and not real. It's the way how you program them, use them to make a beat, which is often not human at all. Because drum samples nowadays are actual recordings of actual drums, period. So the question acoustic drums or samples is already wrong in its own, because drum samples are acoustic drums recorded. So basically it's the same. It's the way how you use them, which sometimes is lacking of the human feel that a human sitting behind a drum set makes. But sound-wise, it's the same. However, let's now go to the revealment. Is it called the revealment, by the way? I want to reveal the answer right now. So as a quick recap, and maybe you see already here, here are the 3 different versions. Play you again just a sneak preview, 10 seconds of it. Jump into the section here.
Scarlet dress and lavender hair, coral carpet in LA, shades of green, a purple chair.
So I think you get the point. I picked this jazzy song on purpose, consciously, because most critics that tell me that I will ever hear drum samples, especially when it comes to slower songs and where all the feel is really needed, like in this case. So I wanted to really do the test. I think it would be too easy if we get just like a straightforward rock tune. So without further ado, here's the solution. All 3 versions have been drum samples. Yeah, I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, Mike, you are a freaking idiot. And probably you are right. It was too appealing for me to not do that. I didn't want to make a fool out of you. I couldn't tell the difference. I've been working, and for some of you guys following my channel, I've been working with drum samples now for almost 5 years extensively. I use a lot of software, not only Toontrack, but Steven Slate drums and Addictive drums and you name it. I cannot tell the difference, but I want to show you what I did and why it was maybe so difficult for you to find out. So first of all, here is the mix without the drums, just the song as I mixed it, some slight processing on the track.
Bright as light and soft as a feather.
So what I got for this track to mix it was a drum performance, like a stereo drum performance, but at the same time I got already a MIDI performance from that artist. So the information that I translated it using the tracker function was the only little lie, because the band already provided me the MIDI, which obviously has been played by a human drummer. But for me, it was a clear indication that drum samples have been used already on the acoustic drum recording that they sent me. I wanted to use those for the comparison, but I picked the way that I just did, just like throwing in different libraries. So what I did here, and to reveal which samples I used, just like for the sake of showing it, the first one was this kit. It was a preset kit, and by the way, I didn't tweak the kit. I just picked randomly 3 different brush kits with brushes and samples, 2 Superior Drummer kits or Superior Drummer expansion packs, and even 1 Easy Drummer. So the first one you heard was, let me switch to the custom and vintage, one of the STXs, and I switched to my preset. You see Patrick Talbot Blue. It's a Ludwig Keystone, toms, and kick drum at 9020's Black Beauty, because those instruments have been sampled by Toontrack with brushes and some vintage cymbals. And to show you that I'm right, so this is the version here, which is slightly mastered already, so you will hear maybe a little difference in volume, but this is the track I showed in my video.
Bright as light and soft as a feather.
And now here is the kit. I load it up together with the track.
Bright as light and soft as a feather.
As I said, it's not mastered, so the volume drops quite a bit, but again.
Bright as light and soft as a feather.
What I did though, to make it more, let's say, realistic, I enabled all microphone bleeding between the instruments. Samples are usually very clean, but I wanted to make it more different. So when I just solo the kick drum, you will hear the bleeding of the snare and the hi-hats and the cymbals coming through the kick drum microphone. What an actual acoustic drum set would sound like when you record it, and this is exactly what's been doing here in the software. They record a drum set, so by using all the bleeding in the microphones, it gets even more realistic. So this was kit number 1, which wasn't the favorite of most. I think when it comes to your answers, it was on number 2. The most votes for being the acoustic drums, and this surprised me quite a bit, was not even an expansion pack for Superior Drummer, which I assumed it would do, because usually they are sampled in a higher quality and more detail, but it was a basic. I've named it here Patrick Talbot, but basically it's a preset kit coming from this custom shop expansion pack for Easy Drummer, which is called, I think, Jazzy Brushes or something like that. I just tweaked a little bit the balance between the instruments to have it better sitting in the mix. But this is what the kit sounds like just on its own. And together with the song.
Light and soft as a feather. Embracing life like there's no other. Silly jokes.
Just to double check, here's the version.
Bright as light and soft as a feather.
And finally, the third kit was one of the core library from Superior Drummer. Again, let's pick the blue here. Again, a preset kit, which I slightly tweaked. You see again here, I just enabled all the bleeding between the microphones, but it's basically this little 16 by 18 jazz kick drum, the two Gretsch round badge kicks, and the 1950s Slingerland snare drum. So again, this was the version I showed in my first video.
Bright as light and soft as a feather.
And here's the version.
Bright as light and soft as a feather. Embracing life like there's no other. Silly jokes.
Most people, or the least people, told me that those are the acoustic drums, which I thought was quite surprising because it's the latest expansion pack for Superior Drummer, captured precisely with even more details. But again, I didn't like even tweak the software more to this humanized feel, which you can do. There are like endless options to do this. So without going into too much technical details, if you have any questions, you can ask in the comment section. What's the moral of the story? Well, I didn't want to show you that samples sound better than acoustic drums or equally good, or that acoustic drums are still better or whatever, just by the fact that no one except one user, and I'll reveal his name in a few, that no one knew the answer. It seems to me that we are still listening with our eyes and with our mind and not with our ears, because the moment you guys thought one of those kids are actual recorded acoustic drums, you wanted to hear something. And all three of them, because I got answers, number 1, number 2, number 3 are acoustic kits, shows that at the end of the day, no one can really tell a difference. And I think that's the moral of the story here. However, there was one user that instantly knew or guessed the answer to this, and this was my good buddy Michael Perry. Congrats, Michael. I think most people, what they refer to prefer acoustic drums is something that has to do with emotions. We think it's more natural and more human to have a real human being sitting behind an instrument like a drum kit and doing what he or she is doing, like express himself or herself on that instrument, and that's recorded, and that's the magic. And that's right. The software nowadays just gives us sound-wise a ton of options to come as close as it can get to acoustic drums, because nowadays drum samples are recorded acoustic drums, and it allows us, and that's my point of this whole story, it allows us in a bedroom apartment to record fantastic recorded drums and to work with them and to make music, and you don't have to spend like thousands and thousands of dollars to go into a studio, buy a 15,000 euro or dollar drum kit, pay an engineer and studio time, all that stuff to get a decent drum recordings. You can just use the software, and sound wise there's actually no difference. So that was it, guys. I hope that you don't found this too disappointing. Again, I didn't want to fool you guys. I just would just out of fun, wanted to reveal this today. If you have any questions, critiques, some comments on the video, what I did here, please leave me a comment below. Leave a like or dislike. I appreciate every reaction from you guys. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye.